I'm going to cover a question on medical. Now, a lot of people don't like reading questions like this, and there's ways to do it and keep your ethics intact. So, this is more of a tutorial than anything else on how to do it. I normally don't do them, but the person asked me to, and they said I could share the reading as well as a teaching tool, and they're very close to me. So, this is very personal, okay? And the question was around that they're dealing with a serious issue with their eyes, and they're having a hard time finding somebody to help them in the medical field. Is pretty crazy right now. In addition to that, they want to know if there is some type of tumor or a serious issue with the eye. Now, before we start, I'll be clear, I cannot answer for anybody whether something is or something is not. What I can do and what I do is I read the energy of the cards. All right. So these are the cards that came up. And when I saw the Six of Pentacles and I knew the history that they were dealing with a lot of issues with trying to get help, I'm seeing here, well, finally. Now, also, when you read tarot, right, don't always read it for face value. Look at the cards and also look at what you see. Now, this card is a card around somebody sharing, giving you some of their earnings, for lack of better terms, sharing their wealth, right, giving back to community. But I didn't read it like that. When I see pentacles, I'm seeing things that are materialized. It could be finances, it could be health, it could be wealth, right? It's a health question, therefore it's health. And it's saying that somebody kind of important, doctor, is going to treat you fairly and try to help you find what you need by maybe looking at other cases that they've had similar to what you're dealing with to try to find an answer, okay? So that's how I kicked off the reading with that. I'm not going into any more detail. I'm going to kind of keep it thin, but to give you an idea how you'd answer that question without being unethical. All right. And it's a 6. And so it's telling me that they're going to communicate. And also, to pay attention to the way the card is laid out. So you have 3 pentacles, 1 and 2. So there'll be communication to kind of get a little deeper insight into the case. They're going to have to make a decision based on their findings, the 1. And that 6, that means that they're going to be fair and balanced with how they deal with you. All right. That's how I open the reading up. Then the moon card came up. And also, when I read, everything's face down, so I have no idea what's coming up. I always read like that. It's just how I read cards. I don't want to know. I want to just let them come up. Now, here was the moon. And so I'm thinking to myself, this reminds me more of like that they're confused because it's a complex case and they're not quite certain on how to actually approach the problem. And so when I saw this, I'm thinking to myself, all right, so what they're saying is that they don't have a lot of light on the situation, so they have to kind of go off past history and off past knowledge because it's kind of in the shadows. The eye, right, is in the shadow. They can't really see what it is. So then what happens next? And again, this reading is really sped up, but I don't want to go into some of the personal stuff, so I'm keeping it very high level. And then the advice or the outcome would be that the 7 of Pentacles was that they're going to start running many tests to try to figure out what is going on because they're not sure, right? And so when you see the 7 of Pentacles, it's kind of like, did I do enough? Have I done enough to reap the harvest and so forth? Because it's a medical question, I'm going back to like, well, he's observing the different things and he's looking at the different records, but now he has to make some decisions to find answers, new possibilities, new things on what this can be. And how do you do that? By running tests to come up with other solutions to what this might be causing the issue that the person's dealing with. And you can see here also, you have a 6 and you have 1 and 2. So start over here. You have 3 and 3. So it's kind of like they have to really communicate with other doctors to expand and grow and find the answer, right? And the 1 here at their foot is like they got something kind of going on in their mind, something that they have an idea around, but not quite sure. So they're going to communicate, make a decision to find the answer for the patient to help them figure out what the next step is. Okay. So that's how you can read this type of question by not, predicting, because the last thing you want to do is you do not want to tell somebody something and then have them not go to a doctor. That's not your job. Your job, if you're reading tarot, Lenormand, dice, whatever, is to give them advice and guidance based on the energy that you're picking up on to hopefully relieve some tension they're dealing with and to give them a little bit of hope that the answer can be found. And I'm not saying it will be, but what I'm saying is that by taking tests to come through the confusion and being treated fairly, then things are going to begin to open up. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at this from the Marseille, and just to kind of show you how you can read the same question using the Marseille deck, as this was a Rider-Waite. And the way I do it is with Marseille, I read it kind of like Lenormand. Now you can read this with a 3-line, 5-line, or a box spread, but with the Marseille deck, I always start in the middle, which is my theme, and work my way then from left to right, and then I will pair on top of that. Okay, which means is like I'll use the flanking cards to kind of see how it interacts with the energy. And so we'll begin with 3 cards on the issue with the eyes. And we're seeing a 2 of Wands. So it's kind of like that somebody has to hurry up and find out what's really causing the issue. A decision needs to be made pretty quick. So is this a serious issue? We don't know. But we do know that this is fire. And we do know that it's really weighing heavy on the person, on their soul. It's kind of draining them. And a decision has to be made. Okay, so is it this thing? I don't know, but something has to be done, right? So it's a 2 of Wands. Then you have here is the Sun's reversed. And it's funny because it's saying that the answer is going to take some time to come. Is this something catastrophic? I don't know. What I do know is that answer has to be found, but it's going to take a little bit of time because it's a complex case. So it's not something that's just straightforward. And because of that, now we go here. And because of that when they see the physician, that they're going to have to run different tests and decide on the path forward, which is what? The High Priestess, which means that the secrets or the things that's been hiding will finally be revealed. Right? Because like this, she's all about like, you're not ready to see the truth. You're not in a position to understand it. But here it's saying, yeah, the book's open. You're going to find the answer, right? And I don't know what the answer is, good or bad. So I couldn't say to you yes or no that this is that or the other thing. But what I can say is that the book's open now and you can read it and the answer will be found. And what's interesting too is that when I look at this here, the sun, even this card here, you know, it looks like eyes, right? Here, eyes, the face down here, you know, kind of the mouth. So I got the whole vibe of like, this is a health type of a thing. So even the cards are kind of projecting that to me. But I also see red, which means there's a lot of passion around this thing and a lot of urgency, because red's urgency to get an answer pretty quick. And with the High Priestess or the La Papiste, the female pope, is looking into the future, which means that the answer is not known now, but once you get settled down with the doctor and physician, then the answer can be found. Now what you can do too is you can say, well, what happens next, right? What's the next thing? It's the Page of Coins. Okay, so again, it's upside down. It doesn't really mean much in the Marseille, but it's more like it's going to have to be something new they have to find. It's not something that's going to be known, right? So it's kind of like you're seeking the answer. It's kind of like it's a little bit erratic, right? It's a little bit out of control, this issue, and they have to do some serious research. And even this is still have to keep looking forward. So they don't really know when they first come to your case. So decisions are going to be made. The book is going to be open, so we'll have an idea, but then they're going to have to be more testing. There has to be something to really ground in, because right now they just don't know. It's like the doctor, for lack of better terms, is staring at the device to figure out what the hell is it, and see the eyes looking at the coin. So he's really observing the eye. He's really trying to get in there and look at every possible detail he can do to find the answer. And then judgment, then an answer is going to become and say, okay, shoot, here it is. This is what has been going on. And it's kind of like that finally, here's your answer. Good or bad, don't know. But the point is, the judgment call has now been made. Okay, now, after we did our testing, you came in there, now answers is actually finally found. But it happens after what? Some time. So this is still good. So the answer would be found, but it takes some time, but they finally will come to it. How long on timing? I don't know, right? But I do know the answer is found because the decision was they have to do a little bit of research. And because it's kind of a new thing in a sense, or something that they haven't really seen a lot of, maybe they had to kind of be a little bit reckless in their approach to find the answer, which means like push the boundaries and really get to the bottom of it. So that is two different ways you can read that type of a question. And if you notice too, I didn't tell on the Marseille, I didn't tell the person if I was reading this for them, oh, this is a definite thing and this is going to happen, because that's kind of immoral, that's not ethical. But I did say is like, look, based on the energy of the cards, what we're seeing is that answers will be given, but it'll take some time. That way, you don't give false hope. It'll take time, and they're going to have to do a little bit of procedures that are maybe out of the norm for them, things they're not really accustomed to per se. And then finally, a judgment call is going to be made. So like, again, the physician looking down, blowing the horn, hey, I got it. This is what's going on. Everybody's looking like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks, man. And so that kind of gives you your next step. And you can keep building on to this to see, what other information can open up. So with the Marseille, it's just not a 3 card or a 7 card or a 5 card. Is you keep building. Say, for example, now we're going to go a little hypothetical here. Let's say, for example, you want to say, well, what's kind of on the mind of the doctor? So let's say this is the doctor here, okay, just for example. And you can say, well, you can pull a card and place it on top. So you can say, well, what they're kind of thinking about is like, they need to be really shrewd on how to find this, because it's moving very quick. The situation is a little bit out of control. It's not really bad yet, but it's at a point where they have to take it very serious. And with the sword being down, it's like they're not going to be reckless. They're going to kind of be very strategic and methodical in their approach. So again, the 3 of Swords and the Rider-Waite, it's all about what? They say heartache, but it's not. It's like the mind's broken because the heart snapped, right? But here you see the Marseille is different. You're seeing 2 swords, so it's a decision has to be made, which kind of maps back up with its energy here. And then with the sword coming down, which is kind of locked in, and they're like, well, we're not sure. We have an idea, we have an idea about what to do, and so it's not completely hidden to me, the doctor, but I have to really kind of assess how, by running some tests that maybe not be standards, right? And you can say, well, okay, so the 3 of Swords, then what? Well, the 5, and depending on what I find, it could be a radical, or it could be something that can, come to conclusion fairly quick. Judgment card. Also the Page, mirroring back up again. And so with the Marseilles, you start going, again, this doesn't do it the person because we've gone off the cuff here, so it's just me reading hypothetically. So you're seeing that the energy is getting heavier. So from a 3 to a 5, which means it's now cutting deeper. The mind has to now dig in harder, because now it's a little bit struggling, like, okay, what the hell is this thing? Because it's a 5, right? Or it's like, I got it. After you're kind of up all night thinking through it and looking at different tests being ran, then he's like, okay, now I'm basically, keep me up, but I'm kind of getting an angle on what's happening. Okay, then what? 3 of Wands. Finally, I have some relief. Energy comes back down, and it's kind of like I can now kind of go and talk to the patient, because I can celebrate some news because I found something that I think might be the answer. Boom, judgment call, right? Now you can also go the other way around too and say, okay, well, it's going to take a long time. Why? So we're going to run the energy underneath it, which means like, well, what's kind of like at play here? Well, why is it going to take long? Because the sun's upside down. Well, you can say, well, okay. Oh my goodness, the 6 of Wands. It's because it's hard, it's a hard thing to figure out. It's heavy. So he has to really dive into his knowledge, right? And really just tap into that passion he has to find the answer. So it's not intellectual, it's more like a drive. He has to be driven, and it's going to take some time to really put all the notes together to figure things out. But also, too, it's a 5 and a 1 energy, which means it's going to be a little bit frustrating to him, but because he has that experience, or she has that experience, the 1, new things are going to start opening up to kind of help guide this thing to find the answer, right? And then, okay, well, then what? Then what happens next? Wheel of Fortune. Well, it's not about being in good luck. It's about being methodical. It's about knowing what you're doing. So again, you can say, well, it's about, good luck. It's about, starting over. It's about, karmic, whatever. Well, I'm looking differently. I'm saying, well, it's a 10 for 1. It's so, he's going like, okay, I've seen this before, and I don't have to be lucky. I have to just use my knowledge, dig into my drive, my passion, because it's medicine, and I'm going to find the answer. So I don't need luck on my side. I got this. I'm going to break the cycle and get this person the help that they need. So you see with the Marseille, I can keep going any way I want. I can say, well, okay, well, then you said here the 5 is kind of like, it could be hard or easy. Why? You pull another card. You have the Knight of Swords, which means like, well, because I got to be a little bit erratic in my thinking. I got to be a little bit out of the norm, think outside the box to come up with an answer for this person pretty quickly. So you can see, you can keep building on it to kind of drive it. So I've already went from 3 cards to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. And you're in one reading, and I can continue to keep going, right? And then what you can do too, what I like to do as well, you can add the cards up. I'm not going to do that right now. You also can use dice. And the reason why I use dice is because I like to try to see if I can find the cohesion between the different systems. So we read the Rider-Waite, kind of gave you the same vibe. The Marseille was more detailed. It went into more of the depth of the question. But now with the dice, we're going to say, okay, well, this goes to 12. Right? So what I do is, because the minors go from 1 to 10, if I get 11, I leave that as 11. So it's like a master number. If I get a 12, I'm going back to 3 with it, which means it's around thinking, communication, and growth. So we know what the reading said. We pull the dice and go, okay, we have a 9. And what this would tell me is like, okay, so we know that he's struggling. He'll find the answer. A call's going to be made. He's going to have to run some tests, a little bit erratic. It's not going to be luck. He's relying on his knowledge and his wisdom that he's gained over the years, or she's gained over the years. And that he has to be a little bit erratic in his thinking, right there, a little bit erratic in his thinking, which kind of matches the page upside down too. Notice how they're both reversed. So I'm not reading like reversals. I'm reading them like, okay, a little bit erratic, a little bit out of control, a little bit outside the box. But now you have dice here that gives you a 4 and a 5. So it's telling you to find the stability in this problem, he's going to have to go through a little bit of pain to get there. The 5, so it's not that struggle. But that's going to come to a 9, which means he's going to attain the answer. He's going to get the answer. It's not going to be completing the problem because the 9 comes before the 10. The 10 is like, it's over, it's time to start over, go back to the 1. The 9 means that I finally reached a conclusion. Is it the right conclusion? If I was reading this for a customer, I would say, I don't know. But what I'm seeing, be careful how you word these things. What I'm seeing is that they have come to a conclusion to help go to the next step, right? And by talking like that, you're basically not giving somebody false hope, right? You're not making, these people out there doing this like, oh, you're going to be fine. That is so wrong, because you're not God. You're not the divine. You're not the universe. You don't know. All you know is that when you tap into that energy from above, and this me believe is 100%, is that you're kind of channeling the energy from the above through the cards. It's like when you shuffle the deck. I can't explain it, and it's almost like you can see the cards through the back of them, and the subconscious saying, okay, pick this one, pick that one, and pick this one. And that's what we want you to tell this person. And that's how I read cards. Anyway, that's all I got for now. And if you enjoyed this, let me know. I'll do more of them. Anyway, until next time, I want to see you in my next reading. All right. Bye, everybody.